Welcome to Energizing Life with AKR Fitness. I'm your host Jase, and I've got the usual suspects here, Mikey Mac.
Oh, caught me off guard there. Hello.
Yeah. And the Goldinator.
Oh, I like that. We'll keep that.
We'll stick with that.
Nicknames today, is it?
Nicknames. I thought, well, I'll give you Sunday names the other day. I thought we'd change it
What's
up.
yours?
I'll go with Jase Poo.
Jase Mike. You can't make up your own nickname, surely. That's it. We'll get some email feedback on whether or not you can make up your own nicknames. All right. We had Chris on last episode. that was a good episode. This time we're going to dive back into our skill practices. So this season we've been diving into our skill practices and our behaviour change approach. So let's get stuck in today with Snack Smart and Move More. So let's go Snack Smart first. Mike, explain to us about snacking smartly.
All right. So first of all, we like to make nutrition as simple as we can. Let's do that right now. So there's only two types of time where you eat. You're either eating at meal times or between meal times. For most people, we find that the challenge with food is more likely to be the between meal eating than the meal itself. I think most people generally know how to put together a balanced meal. You know, they'll have their breakfast, lunch, dinner, or, you know, I know some people don't enjoy breakfast, whatever, they can skip that. But often the problem, like where people go off track and they eat the extra calories, is between meals. So snacking smart, this practice is about bringing awareness to the food we eat between meals. Should I go on?
Yeah, go for it. Pausing for dramatic effect.
The way we practice this one is similar to some of the other ones. First of all is choose your option. So option one is eat 3 to 4 meals without any snacks, because actually for a lot of people, especially if we're talking people who are trying to lose weight, they probably don't need to be eating between meals. And option two would be to upgrade your snacks, as it were. Just choose smarter options that better help you reach your goals. Yeah. So that's step one. And then step two, we typically say choose one, listen to your body skill, and one guideline. So I can get into what those things are.
Yeah. Just explain those a little bit more for us.
So again, with food, two approaches. One would be listen to your body skills. So that's more tuning in to hunger, satiety, emotions, which is a big one around food. And guidelines are more like the structure. So a guideline when eating could be having set eating windows or a set number of meals a day. It could be what's on your plate, like a balanced meal. It could be a guideline, for an example, could be waiting 10 minutes after you've finished your evening meal before you go and have something else. So a guideline is the sort of structure or guardrails around your eating habits, and listen to your body skills is the ones about tuning in.
Yeah, guidelines are a little bit more flexible than definitive rules.
Yeah, I mean, you could call them rules, but we call them guidelines for that exact reason, is just to keep this sort of narrative of flexibility throughout everything we do.
Good. So listening to your body skills, how could somebody get better, or how can someone start? Where would they go with that?
Practice is the path forwards. There's a range of skills that they can choose, but some of the ones that we suggest are practicing distinguishing true hunger from emotions. So particularly with snacking, people aren't, probably most of the time, people are snacking not because they're hungry, but because they're trying to fill something else. They're bored or lonely or tired or stressed out or whatever. And I'm not saying don't ever eat in those moments, and food, we're not that sort of place that says food is only fuel and whatever. Food has social context and all sorts of things. But a good step is to distinguish that, like, am I genuinely hungry, or am I just feeling a bit emotional or lonely? Or because the solution might not be, a bar of chocolate. The solution might be pick up the phone and call your friend, or go for a walk, or do something else. So
or go to bed.
Or go to bed. Yeah. Do you know what? That's one for me. Like when I'm physically tired, I've historically had this tendency to try and eat myself into better energy, which can work to an extent, when you have a sugar high and you get some energy. And
sugar spike comes down real fast.
Yeah. And a lot of those times for me, I'm not that good. We've kind of touched on it before, but just taking a time out or having a lie down or something like that. But when you ask yourself the question, I'm actually hungry right now, or am I just tired, or am I just something else?
It's really hard to get to that point of asking that question, though. I always find if I'm feeling tired or burnt out, I go home from a hard shift, I open the cupboard and I'm already in the packet of biscuits before I even think to myself, and I'm like, hold on a minute. But it's trying to be able to practice that skill to catch yourself before you get to that point of being halfway through the packet of biscuits.
It's getting the cue and changing it, or not changing the cue, but changing the response to the cue.
Yeah, and one of the strategies we suggest for that is label the emotion, where it's just like put a name on what you're feeling, like call it out. I am feeling tired, lonely, stressed.
Triggered, I just saw Magnum on TV.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a big one for me though. Like, see, whenever I see ice cream on TV, I'm like, do I have any of that in the freezer? I'm going in.
And there's another thing from there is, we spoke on a previous one about how you can stack habits on top of each other. So when you do one thing, you can use that to cue another.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, often what happens with, sitting down in front of the telly.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'll need a packet of crisps now, or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's just, the Snack Smart is just trying to bring a bit more awareness to some of this stuff.
I think I like to think of a story that is been with me through life, and it's going to your grandma's house or going back to your mum's. Do you want a cup of tea? Yeah, I'd love a cup of tea. And the whole biscuit tin comes out. Not just one biscuit, the whole. I don't know if that's like a British culture thing.
Yeah,
or
definitely.
Every time you go into somebody's house, family member, usually older, the biscuit tin's out, you've got a cup of tea, and the next thing you know, that's a habit. So every time now, if I have a cup of tea, I'm like, where's the biscuits? Yeah. So it's stayed with me through that.
It's weird as well. It's like, growing up, I was always told never go to someone's house empty-handed. So you always bring biscuits with you as well.
Yeah.
The thing, though, I'd like to reinforce there, no problem having a biscuit while you're having a cup of tea.
Sometimes you have to say yes.
Yeah.
And if that's something that you enjoy and it works as part of your life, great. If on the other hand, you're the person who's trying to lose weight and you're eating too many biscuits, then that's where you might want to practice this skill. So for Lynsey, she might be totally happy. I don't need to work on not having biscuits with my tea because it fits in my life and I'm happy with where I'm at with it. I think that's a point. And that's where the skill that people choose to practice has got to feel right for them. It's not like everyone must do this,
Do you have any other tips or tricks for sort of this labeling emotions or listening to your body?
I think listening to the body skill is a lot of it is just slowing down. And again, a reminder that it's a practice. You might be pretty tuned in one day, and then the next day you've realised you've eaten all the biscuits with your cup of tea, and you're like, oh. But the great thing about these things is the next day or the next meal, you can say, okay, I'm going to tune in and I'm going to wait. I'm going to eat slow and I'm going to wait 30 minutes before my next bite to eat.
I think for me as well, if I'm sitting watching the TV Saturday afternoon, Sunday, I'll if I'm thinking I'm quite hungry, I'll leave it a little bit, maybe 5-10 minutes, and then if I still want it, I'll go and get it. Or if I'm doing something, I'll continue doing that for another 5-10 minutes before I go and get it. So it just gives me that little break.
Yeah.
Do I actually want this or not?
Yeah. I'm slightly similar. I think I mentioned it in another podcast where if I do want like a biscuit or a chocolate bar, I'll have an upgraded snack first. I'll have a piece of fruit or some carrots or something. Then I'll decide whether or not I want that extra chocolate bar, biscuit, whatever it might be.
It's just taking that moment before going in, is it?
Exactly.
I think that's, again, going back to some of the previous stuff we spoke about, I think when you've got hard and fast rules, like I'm not allowed to have this, you set yourself up to fail. It's more alluring, you want it more. But one strategy similar to that is like, well, I can have it, just not now. I'll have it in 10 minutes. If I still want it in 10 minutes, then I'll have it. Or like you said, Jase, I'm going to have fruit first and then I'll have it. And a key part to this is being flexible as well. And just sometimes, I'm going to have the damn ice cream or whatever, Sometimes saying yes and sometimes saying no is totally fine. And it's just the opposite of that diet mentality where it's hard and fast rules.
Let's talk a little bit more about the guidelines as well then. So you said you need to be flexible with them. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So the guidelines, I guess it's similar. It's not hard and fast rules because you'll just when people feel controlled, they rebel.
Yeah.
So it's just creating some structure to keep you on track. One of the ones that I found really valuable, coming out of a place with a not so helpful relationship with food, coming out of a place where I think over the years I trained myself to eat when I wasn't hungry. Partly with like in football, I'd maybe have football training later, so I better eat now. Or, there's only so many opportunities to eat. And I got to a stage where I was probably just eating constantly.
Yeah.
So a simple guideline for me was like, well, are you having breakfast, lunch and dinner? And roughly when are you going to have them? So creating meal windows, I think is a great first step for someone because it creates structure in the day. And then also, I know we're talking about guidelines now, but I think if you have meal windows, like I'm going to eat roughly between, I don't know, say 6 and 8 in the morning, and then whether you have a snack or not, mid-morning, and then maybe between 11 and 1 lunch, or whatever works in your life. But what it does is it lets you then recognize and tune into your hunger before your next mealtime. Whereas before I was probably never hungry and always eating.
Yeah.
Whereas if I know now I have my breakfast, say 8 a.m, and I want to eat a breakfast that lets me last 4 to 6 hours before my next meal. If I'm starving at 9 or 10 a.m, then...
Yeah, you need to...
Yeah, and I need to maybe have a bigger breakfast. Or if people don't want to have a bigger breakfast, maybe they have a later breakfast or a second breakfast or a snack or something. But having that guideline of when I'm going to eat lets me know, okay, well, say 45 minutes before my next meal, it would be normal to begin to feel hungry again.
Yeah.
And I should be able to sustain that, after eating for a few hours. So I think it really helps people tune in and adapt to their body, which again, if you've got a history of dieting, you've probably got used to gritting through hunger or, feast or famine.
I find we're working shifts. And just like you said there, Mike, I don't want to get hungry and I want to keep my energy up. So I think from the very beginning of working at AKR, I would always have like breakfast between 5 and 5:30, then a snack usually around 8. Then I would eat again at like 10:30, 11.
Second breakfast.
Third. And it just, every 2-3 hours I was eating, and I think my body's just gotten used to that. So I'm still doing that. But not that it works for me. Like it keeps my energy high for coaching like pretty much all day. But sometimes I think to myself, do I really need to be eating this right now? Like, am I hungry enough for this?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll just eat it anyway because I won't get to eat for another 2 hours.
I think it's an important point though, because there was a while when the guidance was, eat 8 small meals a day to boost your metabolism or whatever, and then it's gone another way where people do their intermittent fasting and things. But it doesn't matter. I think what matters is finding the right structure that works for you. And even though so you've still got meal windows, you've just got lots more of them. So you know when your next meal is and how much you need to eat to make it to the next one.
Yeah. You've dabbled a little bit with snacking protocols. What's your experiences at the minute with it?
Well, I used to do something very similar to Lynsey, an early breakfast, a couple of hours later, another snack, lunch, train, another snack, whatever. Over the last 6 to 12 months, I've tried to have fewer eating windows, basically snack less and have a much bigger breakfast, try and not eat until lunch. I'll maybe still have something in the afternoon, but just snack less. And I think that's been helpful for me because, yes, snacks typically were where the problem was for me. And if I eat more meals, bigger meals, more nutritious meals, it's working better for me. Not to say that's for everyone.
Yeah. How did you get to the point where you realised that your snacking was predominantly your issue, I guess?
I'm not sure. I think I was just reading and reflecting on what I was doing. I don't think, don't get me wrong, I'm healthy. My relationship with food is healthy nowadays. I just thought sometimes I felt like, again, I was always eating or always craving things that I probably didn't need. And so let's just experiment and let's eat bigger meals and see what happens.
We have a few members that come in, and a lot of them work in offices, and they say that there's a whole table with snacks every day that are just
office culture.
Yeah, just filled with snacks every single day, and they find it really hard if they're walking past that table to not pick things up. So it sounds like what you're suggesting is maybe they could try having a bigger meal at specific breakfast, lunch and dinner, and hopefully that would help a little bit with the...
It possibly help, but they're probably not picking those snacks up because they're hungry either. So that's the other thing to tune in with.
Yeah.
But I think if you have a meal window where you say, right, I'm going to eat breakfast at this time and lunch at this time, by default, you have a window where you don't eat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, it helps create the message, do you want, it's Davey's birthday, do you want a slice of cake? Or someone's brought in chocolate bars, do you want a piece? It's like, you know what, I'm good because I'm having my lunch in an hour.
Yeah.
I don't need it. And I would probably say most of the snacks in that kind of context we're talking about, they're probably not that great. It's different if it's like your granny's famous recipe of chocolate chip cookies and
it would be a sin not to take that.
You wouldn't dare say no.
yeah, you take them in, but if it's some supermarket smart price muffins or something that are,
and it's just habit to pick it up as you pass.
They're probably not worth the calories.
Mm-hmm.
And
probably habit, but also just the more you walk back and forth past that table, the more your willpower is going to diminish, and sooner or later you're going to pick it up. So it's having some backups with you. We spoke about the if-then plans or fallback plans. It's just having something with you. Right, if I am going to walk past that table,
You'll shuffle backwards.
I'll shuffle backwards and not walk past it again.
Yeah, it's funny though, because see when you have like Lynsey said earlier, a packet of biscuits, or let's say it's the festive period and people have those big tubs of chocolates, your celebrations, your heroes, whatever they are. There's this weird thing where you have one and you get that little, it's rewarding for the brain and you like it. And so you have another one and you have another one. And I've thought a lot about this over the years because there's no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, at the end of the packet of biscuits. So the first one's good, but the enjoyment you get from every subsequent biscuit or chocolate is a little bit less. It's a little bit less until you've had far too many and then you feel terrible. And there was this line that I think it was from one of these old Greek philosophers or something, but it really struck me where it was, enough is as good as a feast. I.e., you don't get any more, there's no more rewarding to have 10 biscuits than to have enough biscuits. And enough is probably fewer than what people think it is, Mm-hmm. Again, I'm saying this as if I'm an expert on this stuff, but it's something that I've struggled with, for a long time. How many times when you just overeat and then you're like,
should have done that.
Crap, that was, but you're not like, that was one biscuit too many,
No.
Yeah, you can't pinpoint the exact, I didn't eat that one.
And actually, if you tuned in and really enjoyed that first biscuit, then that was probably
enough.
All you needed, Yeah,
brilliant. Okay, let's talk about the second skill practice for today, which is move more. Mike, would you like to explain a little bit about it?
No.
Move more. Lynsey, you explain.
I think move more for me is basically just moving your body in ways that isn't exercise. Walking, housework, moving, stretching, playing.
Housework, what's that?
Oh, please. Oh, you don't do that. Sorry, Jen.
It's a weird concept, isn't it?
It's moving your joints, moving your muscles, just being at one with your body, really. That's what I think it is.
Mike?
Yeah, I'm ready now.
Okay.
We said that on the episode where we spoke about getting into exercise, that you can almost separate just physical activity, like informal, impromptu, and structured, organised exercise as a workout. And moving more in the more, outside of exercise, I think is a really helpful and healthy thing for people to do. It helps us keep our bodies supple, it helps us age more gracefully because our joints work. It's the hinge that isn't used that rusts, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you keep things moving, you get to keep moving. And for me, the way I practice the Move More skill is what I've mentioned before, is doing a 5-minute flow, so a little sort of stretching and moving routine in the morning. And I also try and walk 12,500 steps at most days. I say try, usually I don't need to do much special to do that. I do go for a walk. I'll go for a walk or things like that. But it's just, are you keeping active? Essentially, is that one.
What does it mean for you?
Move more mean? What does move more mean for me? There's a lot of M's in that sentence. It's just like Mike says, it's being active without being active. Choosing to walk a little bit further, or just like little tricks I like to do. Park further away, take the stairs. Just choose to be a little bit more active than inactive. Like Mike, I also do a 5-minute flow. I do mine at night time, and I find it just helps me chill out. It de-stresses me. It's part of my power down routine. If you go back to one of the previous episodes, so they kind of link together. It's just I don't know. It's a weird question. What is
even just physically, not just physically, sorry, but mentally for me, like movement's medicine.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be a hard session in the gym. It needs to be a nice chilled out walk or a stretch, or even just playing. Yeah. Even if you've got a dog, playing with a dog, throwing the ball, just doing things that help you almost move better. Yeah.
I think as well though, it's not just, we're not just talking about burn more calories, which is typically what people might think.
No.
But moving gets the blood going around the body. That's what helps us feel better, and our muscles actually work as pumps. So our muscles squeeze we've got a lymph system throughout the body, so the muscles squeeze those vessels, and it just like getting all the fluids and the blood and everything move around the body helps you feel better, helps you recover from exercise and things like that, as well as, like I said, the mobility and keeping the body supple.
I think moving more in general, like what you're talking about, is probably one of the most underused recovery tools out there. Just, if you're feeling a little bit sore or stiff from the gym, just go for a wee walk and feel better. And you will.
And people tend to go the other way and just sit and not want to move.
And get stiffer and stiffer and sorer and sorer. Mm-hmm. Do we have any guidelines that we give our members for this?
I think one that I do think is important when people, they start counting steps or whatever, if they want to do that. And again, I will say that not everything has to be like spreadsheet and measured and whatever. You just go for a walk.
You sure?
We're sure.
But if you are, a simple way is like what I think we spoke about with body weight, is rather than like a daily focus, you could focus on a weekly step goal. Again, it's just that little bit more flexible, because there's maybe a day when you're stuck in meetings all day, or it's pouring with rain and you don't want to go for your walk. But can you hit that step goal by the end of the week?
I think that's a really important point to make, zooming out from one day to the week, because just like we've been talking about, it's a skill, it's a practice. And if you're zoned in on one day and you think, well, I've not got my steps in today, well, that's it, well, I'm not going to go for a walk tomorrow, like your mindset switches to that.
And on the contrary, there's part of human nature that, being inactive and being lazy is just normal. And so I'll often find myself, by the time I get to a weekend, I'll maybe have one day where I'm really low on the step count. Like I've done lots over the week, but man, I'm tired and I need to be a bit inactive, Have
you had any experiences in your life where you've had a longer period of inactivity, and how it's made you feel? How did you get out of it? So I can't imagine it's an easy task to just get going again.
I would probably say injuries been one of them.
Injuries?
Yeah. When I came back travelling, I threw myself back into a football game, which was 90 minutes. And I was fine during it. It was after the 90 minutes, 5 days after, my quads were just so tight.
Crumbled.
And then I went to a wedding. It was actually a music festival, and my quad was just, I don't even know what happened, but it was disgusting. I could hardly walk. But this was the Friday, and I never went and got it seen till the Monday. But from that moment, I was maybe 8 or 10 weeks, literally couldn't even walk properly. So I was I felt in a rut. My mental state was horrible. You didn't want to be around me, that's for sure. And it just made me realise how important movement was to me for mentally and physically. So injury's a hard one.
How did you get out of it? What did you do? Did you just start slow? Did you pick?
Yeah, well, I just went to physio, did the exercises, chipped away at it, and tried to have smaller goals rather than, I can't do this, like throwing the toys out the pram. But yeah, it's hard work.
Yeah. Mike, have you?
I'm trying to think. I'm racking my brains here. I've had all manner of injuries and things over the years, but I don't remember stopping moving. Like I've been through periods where certainly my fitness has not been as strong, and I remember similarly coming back from travelling. I was still travelling, and I'd booked a kettlebell certification, a kettlebell teacher's course that was going to be, I think, 6 weeks after I got home from travelling. And they sent me a 12-week training program to prepare. And so while I was in Guatemala, I went to a gym for a week and tried to do things, and I realised that my fitness had deserted me a little bit. But throughout the travels, of course, I was still active. And when I've been, I had a broken foot and broken elbow and things like that, I would have just worked around and moved in other ways. So I think I value physical activity so much. I genuinely don't remember a time where I've,
just stopped.
Really, I mean, there'll have been times where I've been unwell for a week or whatever, but I'll move. I'll find a way
you do your
move.
best to get something done.
Yeah. I'll do, if my foot's in a plaster cast, then I'm moving my upper body. If I can only cycle or only swim, those were the sorts of things. And I guess at those times as well, I was playing football, so it was really important for me to, keep some sort of cardiorespiratory fitness and things like that. So
I like what you said, Lynsey, about just having that small goals and that small little wins. I think that's really important, that if you're only doing 3,000 steps at the minute, don't aim for 10. Just try to get 3,500.
Yeah.
4,000 if you can push to that. I think make it manageable to you is really important, because I think the 10,000 step rule is it's a myth. I think it's an arbitrary number designed by the Japanese who invented pedometers? Is that what they're called? Speedometers? Pedometers?
Pedometers.
It's not a speedo. How fast you going? So yeah, I think it was just completely mythed in order to sell these devices. So just do what you can do.
Yeah, I think there's a few of the, like they said about drinking water, 8 small glasses a day. Some of these, whether they're steeped in accuracy and scientific history or not, they can provide a guideline sometimes with the steps, can give a ballpark. I think I totally agree though. If
sometimes it feels too much.
Yes, it's overwhelming. If it's so far ahead, it's almost like Chris when he was talking in the last show about going off track, when he changed job and during the lockdown, he couldn't be the Chris and have the fitness routine of 2019 Chris, and so he kind of fell off track altogether because when it feels so far away, what's the point? Yeah. And I think that can be the downside that you're saying, Jase, with the steps. It's like, well, can you do a little bit more?
Just that little bit more than what you're doing now, and do
baby steps.
Baby steps, exactly. Do you have any other tips and tricks you wanna give out?
You?
Oh, me? Just that one. Just start slow, move little, move often, do what you can.
Yeah, I would just say these skill practices are meant to be fairly light and fairly straightforward basics. So they're not always going to sound groundbreaking or sexy or any of that sort of stuff, but that's the point, because as we said in season 1, so much of what people have done in their fitness journey has been extreme stuff that they can't sustain, and they've never actually learned just the basic set of skills to live a healthy, energized life. So yeah, we're just saying tune into your body, try and practice. And I think Snack Smart is certainly for me is one of the more challenging ones.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Tuning into the body, being present when you're eating, chewing your food, things like that. These are some listen to the body skills that you can work on.
So often that it's not often I watch TV when I'm eating, but when I do, and then where's my food?
Yeah, where's it gone?
But
yeah.
Did you take my sandwich?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's not meant to be hard and fast rules. It's just tune in, listen, and same with the move more. It's Just like, did you move today? Could you have a little stretch for 5 minutes? Could you go outside and take a little walk? Again, it's about having almost a checklist for your lifestyle, where you say, the previous ones have gone through, where am I with my sleep? Where am I with that? And that's all these are.
And just making it achievable for the individual, not jumping too high, too fast.
Brilliant. I think we'll wrap that up there. That was a lovely point to end on. All right, folks, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your ratings, your reviews. You can send it to a friend, share it on socials. It's hashtag Energizing Life together. And if you've got any question for us, we would love to answer them. It's podcast@akrfitness.com. And we'll see you on the next one. Thank you, folks.